So with Attack on Titan 2, or AOT2, because why would an anime game ever use the name of the anime in its title, I went in knowing basically nothing. I'd seen a minute or so of gameplay beforehand, and it sure looked like Attack on Titan, but I was not ready for the lengths this game would go to be an effective tie-in to the show. At first it seemed like we were just going to be playing through the video game version of the show's storyline, which is basically true. But then, during the scene where the drill sergeant is dressing down the new recruits, asking random members their name and why they enlisted, he turns towards the camera and poses the question right to you. And then the game dumps you into a character creator. See, you're not playing this game as Eren or Mikasa or any of the named characters from the franchise. You're playing as your own original character, one of the many nameless faces in the crowd of soldiers that are always around but never focused on. And this detail alone injects new life into the story, because it allows you to veer off and spend time with parts of the cast that didn't get much screen time early in the series, because the camera was always fixed on this small group of main characters, who you do still get to spend time with when a big story beat happens and requires everyone to come together. So it's not just a straight retelling of the anime story, because the game recognizes that your OC just wasn't there for a lot of what Eren and the others did. But everything you do still feels connected to the anime story because of how restricted and insulated the cities behind the walls inherently are. When Titans breach the wall, it's all hands on deck no matter where you are or what you're doing. Between missions, you're given the opportunity to run around garrison headquarters, interacting with NPCs, and leveling up honest-to-God social links with characters from the show by navigating dialogue trees that increase your relationship with them and eventually give you stat buffs that you can equip to your character to gain small quality of life changes, like making your blades and gas last longer. Speaking of which, there's a lot going on with the combat in this game. It actually reminds me a lot of the PS4 Spider-Man, not only because of the basic traversal and the fact that the grappling hook's always attached to actual objects in the game's world, but because they throw a lot at you all at once and leave you to get used to it through repeated encounters with Titans. As I said before, your blades will break over time and the gas you use to boost will run out, so you need to build supply stations using items you get as rewards for completing side missions, which could also take the form of artillery towers that shoot Titans with cannon fire, but then you can't resupply at that site. Each supply station will only give you back one set of blades and gas cans, and a supply station has a cooldown timer before it can be used again. So it's in your best interest to maintain multiple stations at once, while juggling the benefit of an artillery tower or two, and being sure to use your limited resources wisely. Hell, just the act of reloading is a risk-reward calculation, because not only can you not do it while moving or in the air, replacing your blades and your gas each have a canned animation that you are locked into no matter what, meaning you are completely vulnerable to attack whenever you reload. A habit I got into was using a flare to blind a Titan, buying me a few precious seconds to reload, except you only have a handful of flares and you need them to subdue any Titan that starts to see red and get extra aggressive. If a Titan does manage to grab you, and they will, the game wants you to mash triangle before time's up to cut yourself free, which is fine and all, but I greatly prefer using the D-pad to call in my favorite squad mate to swoop in and save me. Your squad, by the way, is made up of named characters from the show as well as nameless NPCs that you can recruit just by walking up to them and pressing circle. They each have a letter grade signifying how good they are in combat, and you can replace low-level soldiers with higher-level ones really easily on the fly. At any point during combat, you can call in one or more of them to strike whatever part of the Titan's body you have targeted, as well as perform a special assist move like shooting a flare so you don't have to use up one of your own. The downside to having a group helping you is that when everyone is in the air at once, everyone looks identical, including your character. And depending on the geometry of that particular spot you're fighting in, the camera can be kinda bad. I would often have to disengage from battle just to get my bearings before jumping back in. Also, like Spider-Man, a lot of buttons have multiple uses depending on the situation, and it can feel kind of clumsy at times. Pressing triangle to grapple onto a Titan, then X to pick up speed, then hitting triangle again to attack is a weirdly awkward choice, and I'm constantly messing up because I expect to attack with the square button or something, since triangle is the grapple button. There's a lot to juggle on the fly, and once you get used to all the systems and management, the combat is very repetitive. Although it never stops feeling rewarding when you successfully kill a Titan in a single shot because you manage to strike just fast enough from the right angle. The worst part about the combat is by far trying to fight these boss Titans, who are exactly the same as all the rest, just a lot tougher. And the repetitive nature of the combat really hits you, as your squad just sort of beats their head against a wall until this thing finally goes down. With every other Titan in the game, encounters only take a minute or so, sometimes just a couple seconds. But with these Titans, the fights are way too long and not very fun. But if you need a break from all this, there's also another mode, which for some reason is only labeled as another mode. Basically, you select either your OC or a named character from the series that you unlock as you progress through the story, and take them on missions outside the walls. Everything you're doing is still the same, but the drastic change in environment is not only refreshing, but it honestly changes everything because there's no tall buildings to grapple to, which means your ability to maneuver and escape is severely limited, forcing you to make better decisions about how and when to strike, make better use of your allies, and figure out how to incorporate horseback riding into all of it. The horse stuff isn't that great, but I like that it's included. There's also a whole progression system with the character you choose in this mode where you can level them up, improve their gear, customize their outfits, and if you don't pick your OC, they'll still be there as an NPC helping you, which is pretty cool. There's a ton more I could say about this game. There's entire systems I haven't talked about at all. Hell, I didn't even mention the crafting mechanic and the upgrade trees. But honestly, if any of what I've said so far sounds good to you, I encourage you to try this game for yourself. It's a really good Attack on Titan game, and a really good game in general. It has really clear shortcomings that can detract from the experience, but I never found any of them to be a deal breaker. The things it does right are more than good enough to make me want to keep playing despite the things it does wrong. It does lack the sense of dread and horror present in the anime, but it still manages to remind me why I like Attack on Titan so much in the first place. So if you played this game, tell me about your experience. What did you get out of it? And if you haven't played it, what is your favorite anime game? Tell me about it in the comments below. Thanks as always for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.